Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Ryan, the pessimist.
And I'm Carlos, the optimist.
And this is Optimist versus Pessimist. OVP and news movie. Why do I always want to say moves of the week?
Moves of the week.
What are the moves of the week and or news of the week? Because we have this new segment now where Carlos provides me news I have not heard of yet, or possibly haven't heard of, and then we discuss it.
Yeah, this is really just me secretly trying to make it a Star Wars podcast.
So are all of them going to be...
Probably. That's all I really care about. So.
Great. Why did I do this?
News of the week. Okay, so it was leaked by someone, no one knows who. It was leaked test footage for a rumored Star Wars series that had been rumored since early, like maybe 2006, 7 even.
Okay, so is this the thing that you just showed me and put me in a horrible mood watching?
The test footage, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Now,
but can I give you some background before we...
It will not make me less angry.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, this was going to be the thing that George Lucas was going to focus on after Revenge of the Sith, after the movies.
Yeah.
But the thing that held it back for a long time was that the budget that you would need to bring Star Wars to even the TV screen at the time, they felt was... I think it was quoted at like $10 million an episode or something. Like
it's pretty high. Yeah.
It's pretty high, right?
Yeah.
So that was the thing that was holding them back for a long time. But there was scripts. There was hundreds and hundreds of scripts written, confirmed.
Okay.
There had always been rumors that it had shot, but most people seem to think it never got that far.
Right.
That's why this is such a big deal that it leaked, because nobody even knew that this footage actually existed. No one knew that they had shot anything.
Okay.
Test footage or not.
Okay.
So that's pretty exciting right there. But what was also exciting is that this is a thing that George Lucas was involved with, pushing, and in charge of.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of the things that have been brought into new canon, a lot of the little tidbits, like, for example, Sheev Palpatine and Saw Gerrera, for example, they were actually originally going to be in this show, in this Star Wars Underworld series.
Okay.
The whole point is that it's supposed to explore the lower levels of Coruscant, much like when Ahsoka Tano, for example, had those couple Clone Wars episodes where she was kind of messing around down there, doing some mysteries, and when she was running away.
Yeah.
And also, it was supposed to tie into the Star Wars 1313 game, which was a very, long time rumored game. We saw some...
Not rumored. It had a trailer.
Yeah, it was made. It was made. And actually, when I looked into this, it was actually pretty much almost done when they pulled the plug on it. It was basically done. So they could have released it, honestly. Which is just sad.
Yeah.
Because, again, this game, you were supposed to explore these lower levels, and it's crazy that people even live down there. And in Legend stuff, there was even crazy, gross creatures, because this is hundreds and hundreds of feet down. Coruscant's supposed to be buildings on top of buildings on top of buildings, forever reaching into the sky, right?
Sure.
I was always so curious as to what could be down there, man, because it's something we've never really explored. And it's something that gives Coruscant a lot more meaning and depth. Not to, maybe pun intended, I don't know. But it's just something that I was just really always excited about. So even just seeing this is kind of a big deal for me.
Okay.
That being said, I think there's a lot of bias in that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And that's going to be my segue to, what did you think about the test footage?
Oh, I hated it. Almost immediately. The first 10 seconds are fine because I'm like, oh, this looks kind of okay for Coruscant. But then we get down to the actual level of where everyone is standing. And it looks like a Doctor Who set, not new Doctor Who set, the beginning of the new Doctor Who, the first
2005?
2005 Doctor Who, which no one's gonna say was great. The sets were not great. The CGI and stuff wasn't there either. And then there's a lot of bad stuff in this. There's the stormtroopers all talk very awkwardly. Also, their uniforms look incredibly cheap. Compared to because you see the 301st. Is that what the
501st?
501st. There's an actual cosplayers.
Yeah.
That have these suits. Those look better than what I just saw on screen.
Yeah.
And then we're following this lady, which you said was apparently Elizabeth Olsen.
Supposedly, but I don't. It doesn't seem like it to me.
It's so weird because again, is it fair to critique something that never got released? No.
In the interest of having a discussion about it, I am curious what you think. And I think with test footage, the way we gotta try to look at it is like we gotta think like potential, like a lot of potential. Because of course, I do agree there is a lot of like bad in this. Like the ADR was something you definitely
Immediately, well, obviously, it sounded like they were just reading from the page. If it was Elizabeth Olsen, it sounded like she was just reading from the page. And also, there was obviously like a clear disconnect because she's in a busy street. But when she speaks, like almost everything goes silent, and you can tell that she's in a different place entirely, with like wherever she's reading it from. And like her lips don't match either, so like it all just doesn't work. Just the scene itself was kind of mediocre at best. I didn't like that she apparently gets these secret plans and then goes to like a very public place to start doing the secret stuff, whatever she's doing, looking for like the specs of a starship.
Star Destroyer looks like.
I think so. She's doing that in the middle of the street with like these like alarms sounding, and then no one notices this. It's pretty ridiculous. And then she talked to some gun guy who was also in on it. Like everyone on this corner is just rebellion. Is that what I'm supposed to believe? Is this rebellion alley? Is this what
Rebellion alley, like crime alley in
yeah,
in
exactly, exactly, yeah. Like we're like little Chinatown, like little rebels. This is little rebels right
a
here.
little rebel town.
And then like there's some mediocre action scenes. Just it just kept. I just got frustrated the more and more I watched this.
Fair.
And I was happy when it was
Absolutely
done.
fair.
It says to be continued. I hope it never gets continued.
Right, but that's a perfect transition actually.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this show, from what you've seen, did it have potential? Is it something that you would be interested in? Is it something that you think would have been better than Mandalorian, for example? Would it have been a better direction? No?
No, I don't think so. Not from what I saw, no. Because it does have that kind of 2000s, mid-2000s kind of feel for for science fiction.
Right.
And it's like that's fine for like Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is always kind of never taken itself too seriously. It does at times, but like this is Star Wars, and like people expect a lot, especially after seeing like the new prequel movies. I know a lot of the CGI is bad, but there's still some good stuff in it visually.
Right.
So like it's tough to like. I don't think they could have matched what fans would have wanted, and also I didn't like where the story was going anyway. It seemed kind of generic, so.
Right, that's fair. That's fair.
But I mean, like the Mandalorian was generic too, so I mean, it doesn't seem like we escaped that fate. So. Yeah, that's Star Wars. What was it called? Underworlds, Underground, Underworld.
Now, the more interesting question to me,
okay,
is obviously Disney Lucasfilm. They leaked it. Obviously.
Okay.
There's no way that something like that would get out without them being the ones that did it.
Okay.
Right. It's very, very much like the Fox Deadpool situation. I feel like
well,
whether it's the studio testing the waters for something, excuse me, or it's just something to drum up interest, or it's something to just keep Star Wars in the popular like zeitgeist for another.
We just had the movie released. Why do we need to?
That's something I feel like they're trying to do, and I think it's really hurting the franchise actually.
Because
they're constantly trying to keep it relevant all the time at 100%.
Yeah,
and it's becoming really overwhelming actually.
Well, yeah, because they had this leak, and then we had the Episode 9 leak on what Episode 9 was going to be about.
The script, yes.
Yeah, so like it does seem very odd that they're like, oh, the movie's only been out for a month. Well, we need to have some kind of Star Wars in the headlines every day.
The script doesn't feel like something that was leaked by them. That feels like something that was like. That feels like a legitimate leak to me, but I don't know, man. This could all be like studio politics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that I would have really liked to see this series, because what it would have been essentially is a live action Clone Wars, in the sense that this was gonna be Lucas. This was gonna be Lucas tackling his world still, and he always wanted to do that lower levels thing. You know what I mean? That was always built into the backstory of Coruscant, which is something I appreciate.
But why would I trust Lucas to do stuff after I've seen the prequel
Clone
movies?
Wars, though, TV.
He didn't write those.
He wrote a lot of those episodes.
Oh, did he?
Was in the
the entire series.
Of the entire series, yeah.
Season
he was
6?
He was in the writers' room for all the
All 6 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Not this newest season though.
Not this newest one. No, that's
it's going to be coming
this
out.
This is Dave Filoni.
Okay, so, interesting.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people don't know, is that he was heavily involved in the writing of Clone Wars. Every episode, the whole series.
That is very interesting. Okay. maybe my point of view has changed a bit. But then again, there is a higher standard for live action stuff, especially.
Right, but this is just test footage. To be fair,
It is.
it would have been
there's-
It would have been cleaned up. Those things that you're mentioning, there's no way it would have had bad ADR or like bad lip
Oh,
syncing.
yeah. Right.
All that stuff would have been cleaned up. Like
Sure.
we know that.
But okay, so only way that the show could have worked is HBO was interested.
That's the problem. It was always supposed to go to ABC, which would have killed it.
So then there you go. Yeah, we would have no Star Wars show because they can't have that 10 million an episode at all. HBO, and I guess nowadays like there is a couple more, like Netflix has that kind of budget as well.
Yeah, but they're like 17 billion in debt though.
Yeah, so maybe not. I don't know. I don't think he could have done a very good, if he was writing it himself, I don't think he could have done a very good live action version.
See, that's what's so interesting is I'm curious because so supposedly the guy that did Battlestar, Roger Moore, he was supposed to be the showrunner.
Oh, okay.
It seems like.
Okay.
And I think he's this test footage, I think it might be, I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure if it's him or not, but it just seems like he would have been more of like an overseer storyteller. It seems like it was going to go the traditional structure of shows where it was going to have a showrunner, different directors per episode.
Okay.
Maybe even like different writers per episode. Like I know that there's usually like an overall story, but like sometimes episodes have different scripts written by different people in TV. That's a really...
If it was made that like nowadays, like each episode would be written by a different guy, and like if they had like a Ryan Johnson, just like have someone like change it like every 5 minutes, that'd be great. Like every episode is like, oh, we're going this way, and the next episode's like, no, that we just cut that storyline entirely. Now we're going somewhere else. That'd be hilarious to watch. Thanks, Ryan Johnson.
I think when you think about it in terms of that, I think there was a lot more potential there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because we just came off the sequel trilogy, and it's just how I feel. But right now, I would really welcome like George Lucas coming back. I don't know, like even if the executions would have remained corny and like whatever, I at least know that the story and the mythology would have always been expanded in a really satisfying way.
Oh, okay. I don't care about Star Wars. I wish it would just be dead. So that's me.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So I guess still in the same kind of realm, I'm gonna be, because I don't think you've seen the first 2 episodes. There's been a show released called Star Trek Picard.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I am a big Star Trek fan. I've seen almost every series. I haven't finished the original series, and I haven't watched the Star Wars animated series. But every other series I have seen in completion.
The Star Trek animated series.
Yeah.
Is that what you meant to say?
I said the animated series, yeah.
You said the Star Wars animated
Did I
series.
say Star? Oh, this is what you do to me. I can't. It's Star Wars every 5 minutes. So when I even get to talk about Star Trek, it's still Star Wars. I hate it. So Star Trek the animated series that
I didn't even know there was an animated series.
Well, yeah, most people don't because
That's
who cares?
a deep cut.
Yeah, deep cut. So deep that I don't care to watch
Have you seen any
it.
like footage of it?
Yeah, I've seen some footage of it.
How does it look?
It looks pretty ridiculous.
Awesome.
Because it's like the original cast and like it's like them
is
being like.
Is this like recent or is this
no,
older?
No, this is older. This must have been. I couldn't even give you like a year.
You couldn't guess a decade?
I don't even want to because I don't want to know.
Fair enough.
Because Star Trek fans are very precise and they know exactly when these things come out. So I don't want to.
You don't want to get murdered.
No, so I need to be careful here. So yes, so that's kind of my background for Star Trek.
Which is your favorite series?
Oh, TNG, easy.
Favorite episode?
Favorite episode of TNG or just a Star Trek ever?
Both.
Both. I will give you my favorite TNG one because I will save my favorite Star Trek episode ever for a later video at some point.
So gotta tease them to please them.
So my favorite TNG episode. See, now that I said that, now I'm like, okay, which one do I pick?
Oh, I thought you just had it already. That's what I meant. Like, do you have one already?
I have several. I'll give you one of them.
Sure.
Because I'll have to make a more concise list at some point.
Maybe that'll be another episode.
Who knows?
Maybe one day I'll watch TNG.
No, you won't. You'll give up. Anyway, so my favorite episode is probably going to be Measure of a Man. It's Data's trial episode where they have to determine whether or not he is in fact human.
You did show me this episode.
Did I actually?
Yes, you did.
Oh, perfect.
I've seen it because of you, and it is amazing.
Yeah, I'm
it's
glad
fantastic
that you
television.
It's interesting that I mentioned this because this is that episode is kind of related to Star Trek
Ooh.
Picard.
Yes, let's get into this.
Okay, so Star Trek Picard is set, obviously, about 20, 30 years after TNG, something like that.
Okay, what timeline is it?
It's the regular timeline, but because the 09 series mentions that there's going to be a supernova
Right.
that destroys Romulus,
Mm-hmm.
it's technically, I guess, supposed to be that event is set in the Prime canon, so therefore, like, it has to happen. I was really hoping when the show was announced that they were just going to ignore that and pretend it didn't exist, but no, we have to have this stupid idea where like Romulus is destroyed by a supernova.
Right. So if I'm getting this correctly,
yeah,
this is the regular timeline.
Yeah.
But that event still happens.
Yeah.
Does it happen exactly the same way, or is it its own version of the event, like an Elseworlds tale?
I want to okay. I want to.
Or do we not know yet? Really.
I want to say that it is. Well, I mean, we didn't get very much information on the supernova in the 09 movie anyway. So
no, it was just kind of like a MacGuffin thing.
So then, like, they could have literally gone any direction with it. So
right, but I guess that's kind of neat in terms of continuity.
I hated it. I absolutely hated it because we have all this like a lot of fans, including myself, really wanted to see what happened to the Federation and Starfleet and the universe after the events of Deep Space Nine because we've never gone past Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Voyager, we didn't get much in terms of the Federation and stuff like that because all that series is in the Gamma. Is it Gamma Quadrant? It's in like the outreaches of like a specific quadrant.
Right.
So we didn't get anything expanded there. So the last time we saw like future Star Trek stuff was in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And that Deep Space Nine was what, like, ended in 1998 or 1999?
It's been a while.
So, like, it's been a while. So a lot of
Discovery's in the past.
And Discovery's in the past, the same with Enterprises in the past as well. So,
yes.
like, everyone's
going backwards.
Going backwards. So now that we're going forwards, I thought it'd be very interesting to see what would happen because in Deep Space Nine, a lot of stuff was set up that was very interesting. We had this giant alliance with the Klingons, Romulans. Finally, like, everyone is all together.
Which had never happened before.
Which had never happened before, no.
Unprecedented.
So, like, I was really excited to see what we were going to do with that. And it's like, oh no, this Romulan thing happened, and therefore it changed everything. So let me get back into the show now. Let's actually get into it.
So that event happened. And I think that stuff was necessary because it really helps to paint the picture of where we are and where you're coming from. Because this series, it really is, it's a big deal, you know what I mean? His name, he's a lot of people consider him the best captain, the best actor in the series. Most people consider TNG the best show in franchise history.
They're probably
it's a big deal
right,
It's a big deal to bring him back and to do this whole thing. And I read a lot of things leading up to it where Patrick Stewart was saying, like, this isn't going to be what people are expecting. Like, this is going to be, like, controversial and, like, pushing buttons. So...
Oh, yeah, my buttons were definitely pushed.
Oh.
So, so I guess I should get this out.
Take me through it.
To take you through it? I was just going to say, like, my overall reaction to the show so far is better than Discovery, but nowhere near the level of Star Trek that I want it to be.
Right.
It seems that people nowadays, they hate the idea of what Star Trek was about, and they want to ignore it as much as possible.
This is the bright future for humanity where we're all working together.
Yes.
Right? That's what you're talking
yes.
about. At the core, that's what Star Trek is about.
And everyone since, like, Deep Space Nine has wanted to, like, chip away at that. And I don't like that.
Oh.
Because TNG is very hopeful. There's a lot of dark episodes in TNG, but it was very hopeful, and, like, everyone's working together. It was great. And then nowadays, it's like, like, in this one, like, Discovery, it's like, oh, Starfleet is just the worst ever, and they're, like, horrible people. I don't like their version of Starfleet. I don't like...
Give me some feats. Give me some horrible feats.
Well, okay, so there's, as you know, the supernova happened. So,
yes.
The first episode is basically, we see Picard. He's living on the chateau.
Ah, that's cool.
Well, everyone knew that's where he was going to be. Like,
but what if they didn't? What if they ignored it?
Well, then that would be another thing for me to complain about, I guess. But they didn't ignore it.
Be glad with what you have, sir.
No, I want more for my Star Trek series. I don't want to have it to be lumped in with, like, Star Wars and stuff like that. It deserves better because it was always better in terms of it cared more about plot, morality.
Had more gravitas, more weight.
Exactly.
Yes.
So he
Even I agree with that.
So
come at me, Star Wars fans. Come at me. I'm a better fan than you, anyway.
So he agrees to do this interview in the first episode, right? And he talks about the whole supernova and how Starfleet initially was okay with helping them, with like ferrying them off the
with evacuation.
Yeah, they were helping them, and then the lady starts attacking him for like, well, they were Romulans, they were our enemy, so why would we do something?
Right, because they were a long time enemy of Starfleet, right? They were a big enemy in TNG, right?
Okay, they were individual Romulans were enemies in specific episodes of TNG. There was a understanding and a distancing between Romulans and the Starfleet.
But it wasn't a treaty?
There was a treaty. There were treaties.
Okay.
Like, there was agreements where, like, that's why we have something called, that's why we have the neutral zone. And that's why Starfleet doesn't have cloaking devices. That's part of the agreement with the Romulans. So, like, they were enemies at times, but most of the time it was just like, hey, we're over here, don't interact with us, we don't want to do anything with you. The Romulans were like this. So, like, it's weird to have, like, someone that from Starfleet interviewing him being like, oh, well, these guys are evil people, why would we ever help these people? Where it's like, no, Starfleet is above that. Starfleet would jump at the chance of having better interactions with other people. The whole point of Starfleet is to expand, is for everyone to be part of it. Part of Federation. I always conflate Starfleet and Federation, but like, be part of the Federation.
Right. So to be clear, Starfleet is the military specifically, and the Federation is more like a government.
Yeah.
Is that where we're?
What
we're looking at.
That's the more simplistic way, because Starfleet, it is militaristic, but also their prime goal is not militaristic.
Right.
Their prime goal is to explore, interact with people. That's the main fleet, but the main thing. But yes, that's what Starfleet is, the more military side of it.
Okay.
So, like, I didn't like that, like, Starfleet has this kind of perception of Romulans as like, oh, they're our enemy, so we can't help them. When Starfleet of the past would have had no qualms helping the Romulans.
I see. So it sounds like what you're saying is that they've sacrificed the integrity of their own canon in order to make a political analogy.
Yes, 100%.
To the United States right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't like that.
And then, like, we have revealed in that conversation, because he also gets flustered by getting kind of ambushed, because it comes off like the interview is supposed to be about, like, them celebrating something.
Oh, it's like gotcha journalism. Is what
exactly.
It is.
So another like reference, and it kind of reveals also, instead of like, it's again like, this is, I don't like this, because pretty much what happens is, like, Picard reveals that he left Starfleet because it was no longer Starfleet. So it's like, I don't like that you guys are ruining Starfleet, ruining the Federation. Like, now they have these very, like, anti-Romulan views, even though I guess, like,
right, that was more the Starfleet of the J.J. Abrams stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like
having that kind of, it's just very frustrating. It's like, instead of, like, we could have had Picard just retired. He could have literally just been retired, but no, now it had to have been a statement from Picard being like, Starfleet's no longer Starfleet anymore. And I miss that hopeful future that TNG presented.
And that's supposed to be at the heart of the franchise. You know
exactly,
what I mean?
Yeah. Like Deep Space Nine, which may be the root cause of all this kind of, like, Starfleet's evil kind of thing. Like, it had a point for it that made sense for why they went that route. They wanted to be like, okay, there is a cost for having this kind of hopeful world, and that we have to do some shady things sometimes. And during war, that's when things get more complicated. It wanted to make the Star Trek world more complicated. It's not a simple, oh, everything is amazing.
And I'm fair in assuming that that's the first time that had been done, like that darker turn.
Well, yeah, it was the second series after, I guess, in the new wave of Star Trek.
Right.
So, yeah. So, yeah, basically the first episode is... there's so much dumb stuff in this. Pretty much we meet this lady who almost gets captured by these people who show up in her room and kill her boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
And then she sees Picard for some reason in her mind. And then she sees him on the TV when she's running away from these people.
Nice.
And then so she goes to Chateau Picard, which I guess you could just have access to. You just know where it is, and you just walk up to it.
Well, I guess he's a pretty big deal. People would know
Apparently
where
not. In the second episode, he's waiting at the desk. He goes to the desk and he's like, "All right, I got a meeting with this lady," and he's like, "Okay, but and who are you?" So like there is like they don't know if he's well known or not well known at this point. I don't know. So then he meets her, and it's there's this whole thing where like she has these kind of powers, and she doesn't know why she knows Picard. And she doesn't know why people are after her, and she doesn't know why she has this whole thing.
Right.
And it's kind of revealed later because I don't want to go through this plot by plot.
Sure, that's up to you.
It's pretty much revealed that she is Data's daughter.
Oh man.
Yep.
I saw a lot of after the trailer came out.
Yeah.
That was a really popular
theory.
Mm-hmm. That's what people were theorizing.
I don't think it's a good plot point. Like it's so.
I
weird.
have a question for you.
Yeah.
Were Picard and Data, were they close? Like, were they like?
It's funny because I was watching a Red Letter Media. They just did like the first. They did a review.
Oh yeah, I saw that they had that video. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a review.
They're big fans. Yeah.
Yeah, they're huge fans. They're bigger fans than I am because they've rewatched the series several times, and they make that point of like, if you look at it, if you look at the TNG series as a whole, Picard and Data never hung out outside of work, whereas Data hung out with every other crew member at a specific time.
Geordi was his bro, right?
Yeah, Geordi and Data were best friends. But Picard, to be fair though, Picard, he didn't really interact with the crew members when he was not working. So like there was very little of that. Like that's why at the end of TNG is like a big deal. He shows up to the card game because the card game has been the thing throughout the series where all the main cast except for Picard would be playing cards. And then at the last episode, Picard joins them.
Right, that's
and it's
cool.
supposed to be it's big. It's a big moment. It's a very nice moment. So like.
So then it just feels like that connection's based on the fact that Brett Spiner and Sir Patrick Stewart are the biggest names.
Yeah.
That came out of
you could argue the fact that I guess spoilers the fact that Data died in Star Trek not Insurrection the Nemesis that he died there maybe that kind of shaped his view of their relationship more
right
or, like changed it a bit but like yeah it revealed that it's his daughter and once he finds that out he's like hey I'll help you and I'll be with you forever and then she gets killed immediately after that in a giant action scene.
Wow, I was not expecting that at all.
Oh no one did because it was stupid. She has to have this great big action scene where she has to show off her android powers or whatever.
Right.
So she fights what we would have revealed to be Romulans because obviously the bad guys in this series is going to be Romulans, which is probably related to the fact that I forgot to mention this. When we're having this discussion on like how Starfleet initially accepted to help the Romulans.
Right.
What happens was a bunch of synthetics on Mars.
Right.
Rebelled and they like blew up Mars, which is constantly on fire nowadays.
Okay, so
killing like 90,000.
So I have
people.
a question there.
Yeah.
I have limited knowledge of TNG.
Sure.
From what I remember, wasn't Data like a big deal? Wasn't he special? Like
yeah.
It's not like a C-3PO, right? It's not like a generic like.
There was about 3 synthetics. There's 2 other synthetics other than.
But they were
Data.
all related to Data, right? And
yes.
they all come from the same.
Nguyen Singh, something I can't remember.
Right, that's like the creator.
The creator, yeah, they all came from him.
Okay, so then do these guys come from all that? Are they the same?
Well, I mean, we do actually see them in the second episode. So
Unclear.
They look like what Data would look like. So like it seems like Brian Maddox, who is why I mentioned that this is related to Measure of a Man.
Right.
Who was introduced? He's the guy who wants Data to be shut down so that he can study him.
Right.
He's the one that I think designed these synthetics that were on Mars. It's very weird. I didn't think that there were other synthetics being made at the same time as like same time as TNG and stuff like that. It's odd. It's very odd.
Sounds like they're kind of turning them into replicants.
Kinda.
Trying to do like a Blade Runner thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like New Star Trek at all because New Star Trek focuses on having these kind of big action scenes. I mean, the second episode doesn't, which I guess is nice. But like this first episode, you have these 2 kind of action scenes that happen, and I hate them.
So what's up with the second episode?
You know, no. Let me just continue with the first episode. There's something that happens in it that really bothers me. So, basically, what happens is like she explodes.
Okay. Sure.
They kill her. She explodes, and like Picard gets like he's kind of in the range of it, and he gets like blown back.
Oh.
Okay, this is weird to me. This is very minor, but this really bothered me. We cut to him waking up on his bed, and being like, oh yeah, you had or like on his couch, and he's like, oh you had like you survived this weird explosion that no one saw that girl there, and it's like, why is he not at a hospital? Why would they just send him home? That's not how things work. If you get hurt, like on the street, they don't just send you home. Especially if you were like that close to an explosion.
Right.
So okay, yeah, the first episode, didn't like the action scenes, didn't like that Starfleet is evil, and I don't like that they reveal that she's a twin. So there's another lady who looks exactly the same as her, and then Picard now has to find her. So it's like a weird thing to introduce her, kill her, and then have him have to go somewhere else.
Because it's going to be the same actress, I'm assuming.
Oh, it is.
So it's
already been revealed.
It's a story gimmick, like
exactly, and it's revealed now that like the Romulans and I think Starfleet are all working together on like a Borg cube, and they're doing something with it.
Okay, whoa.
Yeah.
The Romulans are making a Borg cube?
It would seem so, because I guess there's like a new Romulus, like
right.
a new planet. So yeah, they're all, and like, well, the reason I say that Starfleet's working with them is because like you see like other people that are part of Starfleet there as well. So I'm like, so is this like, I don't know, it's all confusing.
Right. Okay.
So like. It has all this new Star Trek flair, which I do not like. That's what I don't like about the Discovery. That's what I don't like about Picard. It has these lens flares. It has dynamic shots. And it's like, this is not what Star Trek's about. Star Trek's about morality.
It has the mark of JJ.
It does. He's ruined Star Trek.
He did. He really did set that tone in that direction.
And that's what everyone seems to like, and I just can't get behind it. I feel like a relic when I'm like, I miss Enterprise, like, and no one talks about Star Trek Enterprise, but like, it's the newest Star Trek that I've seen that has been Star Trek,
right?
And I have not seen that since. The second episode
that must be so frustrating.
It is. In the second episode, it's just a bunch of talking with us getting in position to move the plot forward, but not much gets moved forward.
Gotta tease them to please them.
So let's see if there's any. Okay, the positives I like about it is obviously, yes, Picard is good. I like him.
So he's got it still. He's locked in.
Okay, got it for an old man, sure. Like again, like he's old, but like he doesn't have the same kind of. I guess he can't have the same kind of passion and flair like he did in the TNG. So it's not his fault, but he's doing the best that he can for his age and stuff like this. So right. He's good. Yeah, I also do like, because like we set up the fact that I didn't finish my point about, so the synthetics attack Mars and it's on fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Starfleet decided to take away and stop the rescue mission with the Romulans, which makes no sense because those two aren't related. And like they're also attacking Picard, like he's the one that made the synthetics, but he had nothing to do with that. Also,
like, are they implying that the Romulans made the synthetics? Like,
no, apparently
that it was like a staged attack. Like,
it's all weird. It's revealed in the second episode that the synthetics were like hacked into in some capacity. So maybe the Romulans are going to be involved. We don't know yet.
Right.
But like, so that's why Starfleet backed out. It was some weird thing. It makes no sense.
It feels contrived.
Oh, it is 100%. So like the only good things is like is him. Chateau Picard looks nice.
Wow.
He has these two servants. I'm quotation mark servants, people who live with him, who are Romulans that he had saved probably personally.
They're like caretakers, right?
Kind of like they like owe their allegiance to him, and I like them. Like all the interactions with Picard and them are really good.
Right.
And that's only two.
So I'm assuming that like that's why he directly left Starfleet, to just defy orders and help them anyways. Is that what?
No.
He just left because he didn't like what they did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then why are they indebted?
He might have done. Well, I mean, maybe they were part of the initial save rescue thing. Maybe he was.
Okay, sure. That's weird though. Like,
also
got like Romulan.
Also, second episode.
I don't want to say slaves, but.
No, they don't act like slaves. They're like almost
like nurses.
Like, yeah, I guess you would call them nurses or caretakers. Yeah. Also, in the second episode, they swore in Star Trek for the second time.
Oh,
I hate it. I hate hearing them swear in Star Trek. It's so against Star Trek that it bothers me. The first time they swore, can you guess what series?
Discovery.
Yeah, exactly. So that just goes to show you who's running the ship here. People defend this kind of stuff. I'm kind of going off of this now because whatever. Star Trek Picard.
When are we ever going to talk about Star Trek?
The Star Trek Picard. It's whatever. It's fine right now. It might get better, but more likely it seems to get worse and worse the more I watch it. What bothers me is that people will defend the show or defend these new Star Treks by saying like, "Oh, I like how people react like real people when bad stuff happens." People are like, "Oh, whoa, dude, that's crazy, dog! Like, wow, that's messed up." And like people like, okay, that's not the dialogue, but almost is.
I understand.
So like they have real reactions to stuff. But the whole point of Star Trek is that these people are professionals, and they are trained to react a certain way when crises happen.
Right.
So I like that they react as they do on TNG and stuff like that. They're still yelling and stuff generally, but people react to the situation. They're like, okay, we have to do this, and this. I think that's
professional, like a soldier.
Exactly, because like, the first moment of crises, you're just gonna break down from this thing that you've been like. It makes no sense.
I feel like that's such a screenwriting mistake because it's good for drama.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work within your rules that you've set up.
Yeah.
It falls apart, and that's what I think is like in general like forgotten a lot of times today in movies, in TV, is that you can't sacrifice the rules just to have a scene. You know what I mean?
Because that's pretty much what happens in that interview. Like, it's a good moment for Picard. He's like, "This is why I left Starfleet." It's a great moment, but it comes at the expense of canon. It comes at the expense of being against the heart of Star Trek,
which is like the biggest sin.
Well, for anyone that's an actual Star Trek fan, I don't want to say actual Star Trek fan because I noticed a lot of people still like this new Star Trek and its direction, and I'm part of the old fandom who is like holding on for this new hopeful kind of Star Trek, this dialogue heavy actual science being involved. I long for that, and I'm not getting it with these new series. They just seem to be dumb action stuff.
Alrighty, sir. My last question for you. What have we had for cameos thus far? Sweet, sweet cameos. I know they gotta have them.
Brent Spiner, which they should not
First
have
episode?
done. Yeah.
Oh, you know it.
They should not have done it.
Oh, he's huge.
No, but like they shouldn't have done it though. Because there's a reason that he wanted to stop playing Data at a certain point. It's because he'll no longer look like Data. Because obviously, as people age, it's been like 20 years since CNG. Is that like he looks older, he looks fatter, which is not an insult. He's still in good shape for the age he is. I'm just saying like he doesn't look like Data. So anytime I see him, I'm like, oh, that looks just so wrong.
Yeah,
so, like,
because he's supposed to be artificial.
We had lip service for we had this interesting idea that obviously Picard has to shoo away because they couldn't do it because they don't like this idea. Where he's like, because Picard needs to go find this lady, so he needs to get a ship. And one of the Romulans like, oh, why don't you get Riker, get Worf, get Geordi, and they'll all help you.
Your old crew back.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, no, because they would do it. That's why I don't want them to do it. So we had to get away that notion that this was going to be TNG again.
Like reunited, yeah.
Which I know this is the fanboy in me, but that's what I wanted to see with this.
Yeah, it's a mistake. It
It
feels like such a corporate move to be like, oh, it's just going to be Picard though. It's not a TNG reunion episode. You know what? All those characters are iconic. Like, it's not just him. Maybe he's the most, you can say, sure, whatever, but it's not just him that made TNG what it was. It was everybody, the way that they worked together, the chemistries, like...
Well, the fact that you called it Star Trek Picard and are doing it based on the love for TNG, it's like, why not just go all out
Go
then?
all in.
Have everybody.
Have them all. In fact, get them all to go rogue. That would be awesome. Because you know what? Starfleet is evil anyway now, so...
Yeah, it'd be a definitely more interesting idea. So, like, so Star Trek Picard, like Picard, don't like the story. And we'll see where it goes from there. Alright, I'm done. I feel so ranty about Star Trek. I need to move away from
you're
this.
Angry now.
I am. I'm
first the Star Wars thing, then the Star Trek thing.
I'm just flustered right now. So let's move on to something that I kind of want to actually talk about. And recently, we haven't done this in a while. We both saw a movie together. We went and we saw The Gentleman. Now,
Yes.
Carlos, what is The Gentleman?
The Gentleman is the newest film by Guy Ritchie, who is most famous for doing these British-type gangster-style movies.
Yeah, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Sherlock Holmes, King
Snatch.
Arthur.
Nice, you almost went back in order, but like, yeah, so he's famous for that. So obviously, like, you showed me Snatch.
Yeah.
And,
did you see Lock, Stock?
Yeah, it's really good. I haven't seen Rock and Rolla fully. I remember having it on the screen, and I must have seen some of it, but I don't think I ever saw the full thing, so I can't even go there. But
okay,
I do love that first Sherlock Holmes movie, just to give people some context as to where I'm coming from. I know that a lot of people don't like it, and I know especially after the second one, that whole thing fell apart, but I think that the first attempt was a really novel way to bring the Sherlock Holmes character into a more modern age, and I do like what Downey did with it because it's different enough from Tony Stark, although still not that different.
It's Tony Stark with a British accent.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's another podcast.
Okay, so for me, I feel Guy Ritchie, like, he's the master almost of British gangster movies that have kind of complex connections and a lot of different characters that have different motivations.
Right.
And Sherlock Holmes is good. I'll grant the first movie is solid. Then after that, though, it seems like he's moved farther and farther away from what he's really good at. I tried to watch King Arthur. Like, I watched the first maybe 20 minutes.
Is that also Charlie Hunnam?
It is Charlie Hunnam. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Good job. And that one doesn't work because he's trying to use, like, his gimmicks that he has within the British gangster movies that don't fit with King Arthur at all. And there's, like, a very jarring kind of juxtaposition that doesn't work at all. So he's now come back finally to the British gangster movies, which have made him famous.
Yes, sir. So when we did our episode previewing the year 2020,
yes,
this is one of the trailers you showed me that I actually got excited for this movie.
Yeah. And
I haven't really seen a trailer that got me excited for a movie in I don't even remember how long. I don't really like trailers now. I don't like the gimmicky 30-second trailer previews before the trailers. I don't like announcement trailers for the trailers. You know, when there's like a there's like a 20-second thing that's like the trailer's coming on this date. You know what? Just give me the trailer. Like, that's like
with this is a good off topic, but this is like with YouTube. Like, YouTube has the premiere now, where it's like, oh, in 3 days this will be out. It's like, I don't care. Just when it's released, just let me know. Don't tell me when. Don't give me this premiere garbage. So it's weird. So
I was excited.
Yes.
And I feel like it's hard because this movie delivers in a lot of areas.
Okay.
But then it doesn't in some really big ones.
Okay, so I'm going to give like a 2-sentence kind of plot synopsis, which is actually going to encompass the entire film. So this is obviously going to be a spoiler.
Yeah, we're going spoiler heavy with this, obviously.
It's obviously
like all our discussions.
All spoiled, yeah. So here's the premise. Guy wants to sell marijuana plant to someone else, and the other guy tries to undercut him and lower the price.
Right.
That's it. That's the plot.
That's the movie.
That's the entire film. Now, that's probably the first criticism I can think of with this film, because it's such a simple plot for Guy Ritchie and his gangster films. Because the gangster films, if you remember, all three of them have a gimmick in terms of, like, the first one, I believe it's the diamond. Everyone wants the diamond. And this character gets a diamond, but then he loses it because something happens, and then this other character, who's related to something else happening, gets a diamond. It all interconnects very well.
And it's fun to follow.
It's very fun to follow, exactly. But then this one doesn't have that. This one just has the deal. The deal is the main thing and only thing that is important in this film. So it doesn't have that clever interconnection of the different characters. I will also say, I don't think it's as funny or as well written as his other gangster films are.
As sharp.
No, it's not. It's not as witty. It's not as sharp. A lot of it just goes to like, oh, this guy said F off to this other character. That's funny. I mean, which obviously the other films had, but they also had more clever comedy, and they had a lot more situational stuff that was really funny.
It was very sharp. It was extremely witty.
Yes.
I agree, and it's so funny that you should say that, because that's the biggest problem, is that the limited scope holds it back.
Yeah.
Because I think the performances are really good here. Like, even though, and we'll get to this, one of the things we both felt is that McConaughey might have been miscast. but I don't think he did a bad job, if that makes sense.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's very complex. Yeah, but continue.
I've never had that before. I usually think someone's just miscast, and even if they were trying, since they were miscast, it was garbage. But with McConaughey, I get what they were going for, right? First of all, he has to be American because he's like the outsider, right? Like,
yeah, which is something that's a bit odd in these guys' films.
I don't think they went all the way with that as they could have gone. I'm not saying
No.
he should have been like an American stereotype. I'm saying they should have paid more lip service and more. That we should have had more character moments where maybe he is doing something that is inherently American. Like maybe he's watching football, like, or I don't know, but you know what I mean. More character moments where him being American and being different than the British people matters and causes a little bit of like maybe conflict or like
which I guess is weird because the other guy is also not British. Like the ones that are having the deal are not British at all. So then you don't have that kind of like.
That's a good point, actually. Maybe he should have been British.
Yeah, exactly.
The antagonist, because the antagonist is they're Chinese, I believe.
Well, okay, but like the guy who's making the deal with is well, I mean, no, the Asian guy is obviously thick British accent. He obviously was raised and born in England. But I'm talking about like.
I was unclear on that.
Okay, well that was my guess. But the other guy, well, no, because the guy's the Lord.
Oh,
the Asian
right.
guy's
Yes,
the Lord,
yes,
so
yes,
like
yes.
obviously, but no, but like the guy he's making the deal with is also not British. So you have these two characters who or like the main deal is around them,
The players, yeah.
and neither of them are British. But we have this third party guy who wants to get in on this deal who is British. So yeah, I think it would have worked better if like there was like a clear like, oh, you don't belong here kind of attitude.
That's a really good first point, actually, that I didn't think about until now. That the film would have been a lot better if the antagonist would have been British.
Yeah.
Another thing is, again, going back to the limited scope.
Yeah.
I don't mind the way this movie ends in theory, and we'll get to it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like it should have been longer than to get to that ending. Meaning, like, for example, it becomes a gang war movie. Essentially, that's what they're trying to set up here. But it feels so limited. It feels so nothing. Like
here's like a visual part of that I mentioned actually off camera was that if you look at everybody, they generally only have one bodyguard or two bodyguards at any given time.
Yes.
When Charlie Dunham goes and does the whole gets the girl subplot,
right?
Then that's when we have multiple people. But like, it's just everyone seems to have not that many bodyguards present a lot of the time, and that kind of goes to this like limited scope. It feels like this movie maybe had like a really severe budget, like very like tight budget that they couldn't go. Small. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Which it shouldn't be because we forgot to mention that Guy Ritchie also just did Aladdin, the live action
one. Yeah.
So he's rolling in money. He like no studio's gonna not give him a good budget.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
I agree with you, and it's frustrating because we get lip service to how big these guys are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Their organizations, their power, their ability to cause fear, and it feels limited. The only argument I could make for it, and this is me rationalizing completely, is that if you were like a gangster type guy, maybe you want to keep your like closest circle very small, and maybe you don't trust anybody, so that's why you can't have. Because we even saw that the one Lord's bodyguard, the Asian Lord, the one that was above Dry Eyes.
Yeah.
He got killed by his own guy. You know what I mean? Betrayed by his own bodyguard that was secretly working for it. So maybe that's what they're trying to get at. Like they don't want to have a lot of guys because there's a lot more chances to be betrayed.
I guess, but like again,
but it feels everything
feels
the
small.
scope.
Yeah, everything feels small. Like you have this supposed to be like this big gang war, but it just comes down to like one leader goes and talks to the other leader, and there's generally like maybe 3 guys in total at that entire meeting, and it's just like
that's what I would have liked to see. I would have liked to have seen more of it, more of Mickey's storehouses get raided. A bigger escalation of the violence. Because they kind of set it up in this way where he's the top of his game, right? He's the king of the jungle. And even his wife and himself, they talk about all the time, like, okay, as soon as anything starts to get messy, we know how this goes. It starts to unravel.
Yeah.
So what I thought they were setting up was a movie where he was slowly going to be, like, going from the top to more things happening, slowly kind of losing his mind.
Yeah.
Because we also set up that, like, he has violent tendencies. He came up dirty, right?
Right.
And that he's been holding it back. So what I thought they were setting up was that he was slowly going to become unraveled, and then we were going to get to that point where he was just Scarface, pretty much, like killing everybody, making dangerous moves because he doesn't care anymore. You know,
Yeah.
but we didn't get that.
No.
We didn't get that at all.
No. Almost the gang war seems to be like almost sidetracked immediately. The whole gang war, like what happened. Okay, I guess we haven't talked about this antagonist. I only talked about the two people in the deal. Now you've mentioned the Asian Lord. Now the Asian Lord is another person who is kind of in
dealing narcotics.
Dealing narcotics. And
so our distinction is that McConaughey only works with weed. He only deals with. Oh, by the way, shout out to the screenplay and the script. The names of the strains that they had were real strains.
Okay.
Of marijuana. They were all really good. So White Widow, Super Cheese, I remember.
Okay.
And I think it was Super Skunk, I want to say, is another one that they mentioned.
Okay.
But I like that, you know. 420 friendly over here, just saying.
Okay, but so then there's this third party Asian gang who wants in on this as well, and they're kind of in there, and then that's where the gang war kind of stuff happens. But then the gang war is like immediately solved within the same scene that's almost introduced.
Yeah, very Rise of Skywalker that way.
It didn't make
Chewie
sense.
Chewie dies. Chewie didn't die.
Yeah, it's pretty much like, oh, I'm gonna kidnap your wife and then somehow make you back out of this deal because he did that, which doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is there's the Asian Lord, and then he has his like main guy. His name's Dry Eyes.
His number two.
Number two, and then obviously Dry Eyes betrays the Lord and then takes over the business, and then we're like, okay, now things are gonna really escalate now between him and Matthew McConaughey because earlier in the film he tried to get his business before he sold it off. But
right, and this was all on his own too, working outside his organization, Rogue.
Yeah, so then he says, obviously Matthew McConaughey says, no, Dry Eyes has this big, he's mad about this, so then when he kills the Lord, we're like, okay, things are going to really escalate now. But it doesn't. He just tries to kidnap his wife to do something. Which then ends up him trying to rape her literally out of nowhere.
We literally just thought he was trying to take her, like, kidnap her.
Yeah, for something. But then he, for no reason, tries to rape her.
Such a weird turn because that Dry Eyes character didn't seem, like, sadistic. He seemed
he did pee on his Lord after he killed him.
Yeah, maybe you could say juvenile, maybe you could say explosive, volatile, but he didn't seem like someone that would go the extra mile like that. They weren't setting up someone who was sinister.
Yeah,
they were setting up someone who was like out for themselves and very, willing to do anything. But
yeah, but then the gang war just ends there because Matthew McConaughey shows up and kills him, and then that's it. That's it. That whole subplot is done. So it didn't really work well because of that. Some positives, though. The framing device of the movie is actually really good because the majority of the film is pretty much kind of like Hugh Grant is having a conversation with Charles Dunham. Charles Dunham is second to
Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam? I always say Dunham.
Yeah.
Maybe because of Laura Dunham. That's probably why.
Maybe he should do better stuff. And then he was really good in this. That's somewhere, actually, now that we're setting up this framing device, that's something I have to say. Charlie Hunnam really impressed me in this movie because to me, he's always been a very generic actor. Not bad, not good. He's just been like a Hollywood star that Hollywood wants you to really love.
Okay, yeah.
Pacific Rim, he didn't add, he didn't take away. And that's how I've always felt about him. In this, I actually really liked him. And this is the first time where I enjoy what you did. So the framing device is that Charlie Hunnam is the number 2 of Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
And Hugh Grant
is an investigative journalist.
He's like a private eye.
Yeah, he calls himself a private eye.
Right.
He basically
kind of just like a scumbag, really.
Oh yeah, he is. It's okay, and I loved it. I think Hugh Grant almost stole the show in this because
It's great to see him be good in something.
Yeah, because most of the times he's the nice guy, and this time he's this sleazy scumbag, and it's great. So the framing device is, Hugh Grant is kind of pitching the story, and he's just kind of telling Charlie Hunnam. Oh my gosh, Charlie Hunnam. About all the stuff that he knows about this gang war and all the background characters, he knows all this stuff about them. He's kind of presenting him all this kind of stuff, and the whole idea is that he's trying to blackmail him into getting more money. So it's a very interesting device because he introduces characters, he'll introduce conflict, and I like it a lot. It's very different than what he's done before, but it works in this new thing.
Right.
New movie.
I also love the framing device, but again, I feel like with the rest of the movie, even the framing device had a really limited scope because they stopped the framing device a little after the halfway point of the movie.
Okay.
And I feel like it would have been a better movie for me personally if it would have taken the framing device all the way to the end. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
because even in the end, like we see one of the cheeky jokes and shots about the blackmail is that this character, Hugh Grant's character, has a script for all these events,
Right.
and he's selling a movie, and the movie almost ends with his character still pitching this script to another studio.
Miramax, actually.
Miramax. I love that. That's a clever little cameo thing to throw in there. And the Man from U.N.C.L.E. poster and all that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All that's great. But I would have loved for that scene to have still been him and Raymond, which is Charlie Hunnam's character.
Yeah.
All the way to the end. So that we could pay off that device fully.
I thought this is what I thought how it was going to end. I thought that it's going to like cut to credits and it's going to be like pan out and it's like we watched the movie that he was pitching. That's what I thought.
That would have been really good too.
That would have been kind of tongue in cheek, but I thought that would have been funny and it would have kind of worked in this.
And it would have been a really good payoff.
But yeah, because the payoff we get is like, oh, do you remember that character that accidentally died when Raymond was trying to get the girl? Oh, he now wants to kill Matthew McConaughey.
His father.
Yeah, so like it doesn't even end. So I guess here's another problem is that the ending, it goes a little too long almost in a point because the whole thing is that Matthew McConaughey finds out that this whole thing that happened was supposed to be a clever scheme by the other guy to make him sell him the weed factory for a lot less.
Right. So the antagonist, his goal was to create chaos within McConaughey's structure.
Yeah.
To lower the price and the value, which he does, but he ultimately gets caught. Which again, I felt happened too soon and too quickly, too easily.
Well, it wasn't complex. Was the whole problem? It was just like once we found out that was what his character was doing,
we just got him.
It was revealed that that's what his character was doing, which we were like, well, yeah, we all know that. There wasn't a clever twist. You know how like sometimes there's like a very clever twist, like in Ocean's 11.
Right.
Will like have like a very clever twist at the end where it's like, oh, well, what you just saw now isn't what happened.
You thought we were stealing from one guy, but really we were stealing from another, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't have that. It didn't have that cleverness. I think that's what this movie is missing. It's like a Guy Ritchie mobster or a mafia movie light.
Yeah.
It's like all the stuff that is good in those movies are kind of brought back a little bit for this one. Mm-hmm. Not saying that the movie isn't good, because I will stand that this movie is good.
It is good. It is good. And that's what I'll say too, is that when you especially when you isolate certain scenes, almost all the problems disappear. Like, for example, one of the first scenes where Dry Eyes takes a meeting with McConaughey's character.
Yeah.
I loved that scene because the way it was shot, the dialogue in that scene, the way it was staged.
The framing device coming in where it's like Hugh Grant's like, because he presents like a more chaotic version than what was actually, again.
It's like a Matthew Bond moment almost.
Kinda, yeah, I can see that.
And again, that's why I thought they were setting up that little character trait that Matthew McConaughey is very explosive. Like, he's got like the Kingpin's issue where sometimes he goes too far, he gets too angry, too worked up.
Yeah.
But they didn't go anywhere with it, unfortunately.
Also,
and those scenes are so good that it really is like Guy Ritchie back at his height. But then the scene ends, and we're back to the lesser scope, all these things that we're mentioning, where it's coming up short.
There is a very interesting kind of side character and side characters, I guess you could say, because obviously we mentioned that he's the antagonist is trying to lower the cost, so
right.
He. Somehow gets...
Matthew is his name. I was trying to remember his name.
Yeah, Matthew, right. Because, also, Matthew's a horrible actor. Like,
yeah. Who is that? Oh my god.
Yeah, like, I was looking at his IMDb. He's in a lot of minor roles in movies. But, like, maybe his character was just written so poorly. The way he spoke, I didn't believe him and what he was saying.
I get what kind of character they were trying to
look
for.
I get it, but it didn't
work.
But anyway, so Matthew, he... Basically, what happens is one of the factories gets raided, and they get raided by a bunch of fighter guys who
rappers who this was cool. Okay, this is cool.
Explain
so
this.
For those who don't know, right now, in the UK and even in the US, there's big movements going around where gang members are filming themselves doing their crimes, and then they're putting it online to get social media presence and buzz. I don't know the specifics, people. I don't know how people aren't getting caught. I assume they blur their faces and stuff, but like, using GoPros, like literally filming
Yeah.
themselves doing crimes to get hits on their social media.
Yeah.
That's a thing that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Even crime evolves, people.
So
Crime doesn't.
So it's interesting to see that they're bringing in these real elements into the movie, and it works.
And that's cool. They're basically this group of British street kids that they're rappers. They have hard lives. We have lip service to them having hard lives, and then we have this coach character that comes in and he's like a mentor to them and teaches them how to fight.
Yeah, and it also kind of helps them because he realizes that they're street kids. So he kind of comes in and he's like he's like, all right, I'll have to he apologizes on the behalf of them, and he acts like a father figure to the group for sure.
This was Colin
Farrell.
Colin Farrell, amazing. Almost steals the movie for me.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic. I really liked his performance a lot. He in some ways he does it's like a battle between Charlie Funham?
You can just call him Raymond.
Yeah, okay, between Raymond, Hugh Grant, and Colin Farrell. It's a battle between these three on who takes this movie. So he's really fun. All the stuff that they do with him is really well done. So I don't know what else to talk. I think we're kind of getting to the end of this film.
We're kind of getting to the end, but what I will say is that I do recommend it because it is entertaining, and it has potential in the sense that this movie feels like it should have been a one and done.
Yeah.
But they do set up a sequel using the framing device, and it's kind of cheeky and funny, but underwhelming.
Yeah.
I will say, though, if this movie does become a trilogy, or at least gets a sequel...
Duology, yeah.
A duology. I think a duology would actually be better for this.
I think so, too.
I don't think it stretches 3 movies.
No.
I think that could have a really good payoff to where you could watch 1 and 2 back to back and have a really satisfying full story.
Yeah, and it's also an excuse for him to come back to this genre because I would hate to have him disappear again for another 10 years doing these kind of oddball movies.
Or just doing big blockbuster
movies in general.
Don't actually have to try.
Yeah. So
I shouldn't say that, sorry.
what would you rate this out of 10?
Oh man. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to go with a solid 6.5 out of 10 for me.
Wow. You're putting the same for The Mandalorian. Just so you know, you're putting these beside each other. You're saying that The Mandalorian and these are the same. When one is clearly good and how it's done. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. Easy. At least a 7 even. Because all the acting is really well done. Even though it is light and a lot of these things, it's still refreshing to have this kind of a style return again for Guy Ritchie. I think all the acting is good. I think the story, though underwhelming, is still a good isolated story that works.
Right. So maybe this is a case of my emotions influencing my score because I really wanted a satisfying ending to this.
Okay.
I felt kind of cheated that it was a sequel baity movie.
Okay.
Again, I love gangster stuff, so it's been a while since I've seen a gangster movie, and I just love everything here so much that the limited scope frustrates me almost a little bit to the point where it's because I see the great movie is there. You can see it.
Yeah.
These people are here. You could get it, but maybe that's what takes that 0.5 away from me is my own emotions and how it made me feel because it's really good, you guys. It's just not great, and it could have been great. And maybe the sequel will be amazing, but then I have a feeling maybe this won't make enough money and it won't even get a sequel, and then we'll just get nothing.
That's possible. It was released in January, so that's never a good sign. Well, I think that's it for the podcast this time, folks. Thank you for listening. Now this is where you step in and you do the thing.
That's right. So you can follow me on Instagram at Notorious2099. You can follow Ryan on his YouTube channel at Glass Half Empty. And we also now have a Facebook page for OVP Podcast, so please make sure you go and you like there, and hopefully eventually we'll actually get we'll start to build a little bit of a community on there.
Well, yeah, we're making steady progress.
So I guess in terms of engagement, I'm actually really curious as to who's seen The Gentleman. What you guys feel about it, especially with things like McConaughey. Did you feel like he was miscast? Do you feel like he worked? I can see a lot of people thinking that he worked really, really well in this.
I can see that too, but I'm on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What do you think of Guy Ritchie in general? What are some of the films that you really like? Do you like his classic gangster style? Do you want him to just be doing the different stuff? Do people think that this was derivative of the earlier stuff? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like much like I know for Irishman, a lot of people had that criticism. It just felt derivative of
Like
the older,
like diminishing returns, kind of like the more you do something,
yeah,
the less
like they did it better 20 years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. So I mean, there's a lot to talk about. There's definitely a lot to talk about. Let me know if what you guys think about the Star Wars thing. Do you care about Underworld? Is that even a thing? Should we do a Star Wars podcast?
No.
All these things and more.
All right. See you guys.